Hi there, it's Sandy, your sister and your friend. Welcome to today's video. Today I want to talk about the contrast between love and fear. I really think that the basic conflict for all of us is between these two emotions that run the gamut of in terms of being extremely different from each other. By the way, this is my journey. I invite you onto it with me. And if I get something that makes so much sense to me, that's what I do here is I just share that with you. If you haven't subscribed, if this is helpful to you, I would appreciate it if you would, or hit the like button or leave me a comment. That's really helpful to me. I always respond to comments. So anyway, so I feel like that we know some things to be true. Some real basic things. We know the Bible tells us that God is love. Also, it tells us that perfect love casts out fear. And someone told me that the Bible says 365 times, either do not fear or fear not or do not be afraid. So God already knows that our tendency is to slip back into fear and to see that that we are very fearful, his very fearful children, and he doesn't want that for us. Or our source that we are actually are part of does not want us to feel this very destructive force in our lives. And there are two things here. They are love and fear, and they are mutually exclusive. So you can see I have circles around each one. They do not intersect. When all of our thoughts are either fear-based thoughts or they're love-based thoughts. And all fear thoughts come from the egoic mind that we tend to let run our lives. And that this whole thought system is unreal. Love, on the other hand, we know that God is love. And because God is love and God is all there is, and love is all-encompassing, that is the only thing that's real. But I just want you to see these two things don't cross over. Every thought that we have either is coming out of fear or is coming from love. It's not coming from both. There's no way that anything is a crossover thought. There's something that was in the Course in Miracles that I thought was really helpful to me, and so I wanted to have that here. And this is what it says. It says, here is what we know to be true. Perfect love casts out fear. If fear exists, then there is not perfect love. But only perfect love really exists. Therefore, if there is fear, it produces a state which does not exist. So we know that when we have been afraid, that makes us unhappy. It's very disruptive. Our behavior sometimes is compromised or erratic. So why do we live in fear when we have a choice to recognize that it is not the state of being that we really are? We really are love, just like our source and our creator is really love. That is actually who we are. But we have a job to do, because this means we have to start watching our thoughts. That's our part of it. There's another verse that says, for by grace ye are saved through faith, but that not of yourselves, it is a gift from God. So again, this having the grace to know that we have stepped out of love into fear, that's a gift to know that we can always go back into love. But we have to be cognizant. We've got to be vigilant in noticing our thoughts, so we don't just stand idly by to see what happens. Because when we're afraid of anything, we are actually acknowledging the power of that thing to hurt us. But actually, if we really stopped and paused, we would know that the peace of God that passes all understanding is the peace that denies the ability of anything which is not of God to hurt us in any way. Again, this is a made-up, unreal dream world that our ego has made up. We know it's not permanent, it's not eternal, and the only things that are real are those things that are eternal, and we are eternal souls. So we can take charge now and decide that we're going to change our minds, because we can control our fearful thoughts. It's a matter of us being willing to control our thoughts, because we are responsible for what we think, and our behavior comes from what we think. So when we are fearful, we have to change our minds, not our behavior. And only our minds actually produce fear. So when I was thinking about reading in the Course in Miracles and thinking about the steps that we can follow to get out of the fear-based thought system back into love, where we actually belong, is maybe the first step is recognizing that what we're feeling is fear. And the second thing is to recognize and realize that my fear has cast perfect love out of my mind. It's the fear that has done that, has taken over. Maybe thirdly is to, since only perfect love is real, the loveless state that I am now in, called fear, must be unreal. Again, if we just think this through, that this isn't real. The fourth thing would be that the only remedy for lack of love is perfect love. So if we have a lack of love right now in this moment, I'm not loving the person that I'm afraid of. I'm not loving the situation that I'm looking at that makes me fearful for someone else. When I'm leaving them in that state of me being afraid for them or afraid for me, I've actually cast love out of my perfect love. I've cast it out. That's what fear does. But I can turn that around now. I can just be, by recognizing it, being aware, I can say, no, 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 I don't want to live in this state. I know that what I have made up that I'm afraid of, I've projected this thought onto this person or this situation. I've made that up, and it's not real. I can bring myself back into perfect love, and that's where we all are, and that's where we never can leave, and that can't be shaken. But we can have thoughts right now that can control us when we're not aware of that. So God bless you. Thank you for watching. I love you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.